ReZero Season 3 is wrapping up, and this season has basked us in refined degeneracy once again. Between the war on Diddy, long-awaited fan service, this complex narrative has become a pelican and taken flight, resulting in hundreds of breakdown videos and deep analysis, and I am an idiot who barely understands it, making me the perfect candidate to break it down, offering a perspective so stupid that it's genius. And after every episode, I'm gonna give it a rating on a scale of -5.2 to 10.43, so we can finally answer the long-awaited question: has ReZero reached rent-a-girlfriend status, or is it down in the dumpster that says mid-garbage? This is actually not an episode. This is a freaking hour and a half long. It felt like the start of a Disney movie sequel, showing off every old character between Ram, Diddy, the disability hire, everyone you can imagine gets their one line of dialogue until they're sidelined till season 4. Oh, one more thing, we've upgraded the character designs.
Hey, that's what I've been waiting for.
Now we're finally ready to get this season on the road. So let's go to Water 7. And now I think I speak for everyone. When anime drops you in a new location, we're all giddy like a little dog when its owner got them thick thighs. Like, new areas at the start of a season are awesome. And not only because it's a new location, but because there's a ton of foreshadowing that goes on here. And I know foreshadowing is a word serious YouTubers use, but let's be honest. When this evil guy from season 2 bumped shoulders with Emilia, not only did degenerates all over the world smash their screens at the thought of someone touching their waifu, but I think even a My Hero Academia fan could guess he was gonna come back later. But despite all the cool setups, this episode featured a lot of this. Now, ReZero has a metric shit ton of politics and cut content, but since season 2 didn't feature a majority of this cast, it basically made it 10 years since we've seen these characters in a serious capacity. I mean, season 1 ended on September 19th of 2016, Trump wasn't in office yet, the Naruto anime was still airing, and Giga had just announced his return to YouTube. So in other words, who the hell are all these people? So we had to get right to work recharacterizing everyone. But there's a mega serious character that gets introduced, and it's the return of the lotion and right hand of the anime industry. A super overpowered son and a deadbeat dad. Watching this alcoholic bitch him around was type funny as hell, and he was just gonna keep going and going until... Wow. On the topic of woofing, Garfield and the gerbil run into these two children from the city. Garfield ends up saving one of them or something, and there's just so many questions. Like, who let these kids run around? Why is a character that's being voiced by Inosuke's voice actor being responsible? Garfield has PTSD from Elsa? What is going... I apologize for my tone. Let him deal with his PTSD in the most lengthy and expressive ways possible. Oh yeah, he also finds who he thinks is his mom. Let's be honest, this is all just a bit pedestrian. I mean, without Akina running around, we need something to keep us interested. So that leads us to the introduction of the craziest waifu in anime this year, in Cyrus, who drops this kid off a building while Subaru is just sitting there like a bozo clapping along. Now, obviously, we know more context behind this later, but when this happens, it's seriously like, what the hell is going on here? And with that, it's the end of the episode. Now, this episode is obviously long, and I literally have a whole video on this episode alone, but to be honest, I gave it a solid 9.114. It was pretty pog champion, to say the least. This is the first return by death, and I feel like all of them just accepting and trusting Subaru when he starts acting all weird is crazy. I don't know about y'all. If I'm chilling with my boy and he starts acting like he got rabies or something, I'm gonna get Reinhard to go smite his ass real quick. But Forehead Girl and Emilia just be trusting everything bro says. And does anyone associate Forehead Girl with the Mighty Beans from back in the day? Look, I don't really like Mighty Bean Girl at all, but every time I see her, I just picture them. Now, am I losing you guys? Is this Mighty Bean, like, you guys? I'm sorry. So after they agree to leave him alone, he proceeds to speedrun death by trying to stop Cyrus, and some of these scenes are actually brutal. His fingers get cut off, he gets hung by barbed wire while screaming and hollering in pain and agony. My hero should try this with Deku. His other attempt, he decided to bring Reinhard, and what a loser. Can you imagine getting beat up and then you gotta bring someone else to fight your battle? Like, tell me you like NTR without telling me you like NTR, and Reinhard's intervention just resulted in everyone dying. And this is such a sick way to show off her abilities and his abilities. Like, not only did we get a sick fight out of this, but let me dip into my serious YouTuber bag for a second. This is a perfect example of showing and not telling. Instead of doing typical anime BS where Cyrus explains all of her abilities upon introduction, we have to piece them together. But after Subaru gets his few tries in, he ends up getting lectured by Forehead Mighty Bean Girl as well as Emilia, and it's like, okay, time for power friendship, we do it all together. And on cue, Cyrus starts to crash out and lose sight of her goals when she locks eyes with Emilia. And it led to one of the best fights in the series to this point. Don't worry, the peaks later are way higher, but seeing Emilia actually be able to throw hands with Cyrus, it felt pretty nuts, and the effects and animation definitely helped supplement that. And Emilia is usually just there to push the plot forward and appease people who prefer the headpat waifus over the degenerate waifus. And just seeing Emilia and the cultist fight just made me remember how much I miss Akina. I wish she was in this season. God damn it. Shit. Oh. Did he kidnap Emilia at the end of the fight? Things are getting spicy. That was an easy 9.0123 out of 10. And I was thinking about giving it a 9.0124, but because of the power of friendship, I think it lost a 0.001. I hope no degenerates watching my videos, because I got bad news for you guys. Diddy announced his plan to marry Emilia. Wait. As Diddy is about to run away with Emilia, Subaru decides to try and pull a Naruto and win him over the words by saying, I quote, "There's no one in the world I want to be nicer to than her." And I just gotta say, man, stuff like this in ReZero just makes me cringe, because let's just think about this in the context of what's going on. They're in the middle of a pavilion after this crazy woman was about to kill this kid. They've had a big fight. Diddy is trying to kidnap Emilia, and this dude is saying things like, "There's no one in the world I want to be nicer to than her." Some enraged commentator is going to be like, "Oh my god, you just don't understand his personality." Like, nah, I understand his personality. He can be a good character and a freaking dweeb at the same time. And after this admission of love, Cyrus gets called away due to the gospel's orders. And I know we get some context later, but just thinking about this in isolation, I felt it was pretty awkward. But at least we got a crippled Subaru, which is an interesting twist. Because it was at this point when you realized how different the conflict of this season was going to be than the rest of the series. And this idea of a longer life is added to because we get a bunch of stuff with other characters, so we knew he wasn't going to get reset anytime soon. Because this episode is dominated by Garfield. And let's be honest, with characters like Garfield that are voiced by a Inosuke's voice actor, most of the time, their entire character is exactly the same and can be summed up in 2 words. Chaotic, good. They're almost like mascot characters for dudes. Then you remember something. ReZero side characters have more depth to them than most anime's main characters, because if you told me in an episode with all that stuff that Garfield and the gerbil were gonna get a majority of the screen time, I'd look at you and be like, are we sure we're not watching One Piece? Because Garfield's arc was straight gas. Like, screw all that other stuff going on. Garfield is having a whole identity crisis because he finds a woman that he believes is his mom, and she has a whole family without him. Pairing that with the fact that Garfield has PTSD from Elsa is a perfect depiction of anxiety in a character that, to be honest, was annoying as hell in the last season. But here we have Garfield confronting his demons, accepting that this woman is not going to be the mother in his life that he wants her to be, leading to him and the gerbil connecting on a deeper level. And it felt like those nights when you catch your friend in his fields at the function, and in some ways the calm before the storm that this season is going to be. And it's something that holds in our minds throughout the entire season, and we'll get into it later, but I think the payoff we get from this is one of the best parts of the season. But the episode caps off with Lust getting on the megaphone, and she basically starts shitposting in real time. She tells the whole city, "We're gonna kill you all and there's nothing you can do about it." And something about jumping to that right after this lighthearted moment with Garfield was a real slap in the face. Like, yeah, we gave you the calm before the storm, but strap in because the storm is coming. So for me, this episode was a bit awkward at times, and I do have a bias towards it because the payoffs are really good, but I would say it was a little bit weaker than the other episodes, so I'll give it a solid 7.225. Guys, I don't know its name, but the mascot character got hands. Holy shit. The invasion of the witches cult has started. Water 7 is completely under their control. Every sector of the city is falling apart. Our heroes are trapped. Everyone is scrambling. People are dying, and Reinhard is sidelined because his dad is low-key crashing out. And I'm not gonna lie, I understand why they need to do this, because Reinhard is so strong that he could effectively end most of the fights before they start. But all the other characters have to figure out how they're gonna save the city, and it has this Code Geass vibe to it that my bird brain was like, yo, this shit about to be so sick, because all the villains are named characters, they have unknown abilities, and they all got to split up and go fight them. Like, this shit was about to be so hype. Hold on. The gerbil lost his fight? How? Wait, he's bleeding out. What's going on? Wait, there's 2 gerbils? What the hell? The gang gets ready to slide for bro. This is the gerbil we're talking about. Screw the city. We about to pull up on the witch cult. What's good? We got swords? Garfield got hands too. We back with a vengeance. We doing alright in this Is that a dragon? What the hell is a dragon doing here? Where the hell have you been the whole goddamn series? Hey, a dragon in anime that's not CGI is actually pretty cool. And while all of this is sick, I do need to make a statement. And I know ReZero fans love glaze, so let me glaze the series a bit here. This art style looks so good with these fights, and this animation is just so easy on the eyes. Like, I don't know if that's a stupid ass monkey brain statement, but something about watching these sword fights with this art style and animation style, it's like oddly satisfying. Does that make sense? Like, that's how I describe it. Oddly satisfying. But this episode has some odd downtime, and there was moments where it repeated beats from the last episode, and a lot of the meeting could be more concise. And I think after episode 3, I would have expected a little more action in this episode. So not bad, but a solid 7 out of 10.
私、 自己紹介の前に大事な質問に答えてほしい。エミリア、君は少女かな?
This dude gotta be arrested right now. We gotta assemble a team. Let's get Saitama, Goku, Jinwoo, motherfucking Alien X. This dude is a menace to society. And if you think Diddy should be eliminated, please leave a like and check out the Patreon that has a free ReZero character tier list where we have a bunch of characters that are better than Diddy. We also get introduced to this monotone girl that worships Diddy. She's a quiet girl, no emotion, kudere archetype, you know the deal. But this one actually does something really cool later on. Now, while the intro laid the groundworks on what happened to Emilia, most of the episode took place with these guys. And we see Crouch stab a dragon, which is pretty silly for a dragon to fight indoors, but it's cool because Crouch is the one that stabs it. Turns out that this is all a trap from Lust, and one of the people they saved turned out to be Lust in disguise. Whoa! What is she doing? Subaru, you're just letting her get away with this? Because not only is Lust mocking him, she's bitching him around too. And she ends up pouring blood on both Subaru and Crouch, seemingly poisoning them. I felt like this was the perfect way to introduce a villain. No BS, no dicking around. Immediately everyone's like, yeah, I hate her. I want her to die. I want her to die right now. And the voice actor nails it in that annoying screechy voice. Lust is that Joffrey type character. And as we know, nothing unites a fan base like preying on a character's downfall. And it's important to note why Crouch as a character being harassed is important. You see, if they did this to the purple hair dude or Garfield, it's like, yeah, they're right. They'll walk it off. Stop complaining. But Crouch is a character from season 1 who is strong and defiant and seemingly the best leader of the candidates. She's fighting on the battlefield. She has a strong sense of politics. To then see that character lose all of her memories with this other unknown character, and then Crouch has to work her way back to being a leader whilst knowing that she is not who she used to be. And this time she comes across as kinder and softer, but still the same leader who's gonna help people regardless of the situation they're in. Only for her to then be tormented by the most wretched creature we've seen, it only makes it sting more. But goddamn, after running through that all, what does the author have against Crouch? Like, shit. And while this was the bulk of the episode, the pace just hits the floor for the rest of it. Cyrus breaks into HQ with the two gerbils ready to fend her off. Reinhard's sorry ass, bitch ass, Deku ass gets bailed out by the GOAT Auto. Also, the other guys from episode 1 turn up. And these boys are like the cabbage guy from Avatar. They're just everywhere. And then the water from the city busts open and floods the whole area. And then the dragon flies off of Crouch and Subaru, and then Subaru falls off the dragon like, holy moly, mama mia. It is straight action. Like, this is a series that has been criticized for its slow pacing. And I don't know if this season broke that curse by taking pages from the light novel and just being like, yeah, we don't gotta do that. But as an anime only, this is so hype, and I think we can do a deeper discussion on cut content later because it's a problem plaguing all big anime nowadays. But this is not a problem here. That episode was as packed and dense as you can imagine, and there is more character development and plot in this 20-minute span than the entirety of Solo Leveling. I'm just being mean. I love you, Aura Leveling. To me, that's got to be a solid 9.81254. That might be one of the best anime episodes of the year. It was one of my favorite of the whole series. And then we get an end credit scene. See how I give you the rating and now I'm talking about the end credit scene? Like, come on, you guys gotta drop a like for that shit. Like, wow, that's some big boy YouTube storytelling stuff. So the scene. Lust announces to the whole city what their goal is. They have 3 demands. They want the Tome of Wisdom, some artificial spirit, and they want the wedding between Emilia and Diddy to go down. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. At this point of me recording, almost all the episodes are out except the finale, and until scripting this, yeah, like, I had no idea what the fuck their goal was. Like, no, like, wait. I knew they wanted to do something, but, like, that shit did not affect my enjoyment of the series at all. Like, I think y'all should really try being a dumbass like me for a couple weeks, and you will see how many more things become enjoyable with less requirement. I'm just saying.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
Whoa. Woof. Subaru is in his field, so Priscilla stares intensely at him until he feels better. And honestly, I think that cure would work on anyone. And speaking of Priscilla, they just give her an intense fight scene for no reason. It's like, damn, dude, this goes kind of hard. The other candidates all get their moment to shine this season, but in terms of aura, Priscilla takes that by far, and this isn't even her best scene. But it turns out the people of the city are freaking the hell out because these witches just turned up on them. And do you ever think about how terrible it would be to just be a random dude in an anime city? Like, imagine this, you're working 9 to 5 out in the markets, you come home to 2 shithead kids that are gonna get sick and die, your wife cheats on you with a village authority, and the only thing you got going for you is getting pissed drunk in a bar. And now you gotta deal with these witches and their magic bullshit, your city is flooded, your house isn't insured, your horse got swept away, you got a dragon flying over you, and some stupid ass girl with a deformed violin is trying to make you feel better. Man, That may sound bad, but that sounds better than trying to be someone that talks about anime on the internet. But forget all that depressing talk, because it turns out Diddy has 100 wives, and he views them all as objects. And yeah, that's actually also pretty messed up. But not a whole lot else happened in this episode besides them devising a plan to take back the city. And all you gotta know is the good guys are going to fight the bad guys. To me, this was the weakest episode of the season, but because Priscilla is cool, I will give it a 6.754, with Priscilla making up approximately 6.643 points in that rating. Have you guys ever played a single player game that has that annoying mission where you gotta play as a powerless side character and snoop around and get clues, but you can't fight anyone? That's what this episode feels like. Emilia just figures out a lot about Diddy and his wives, how they're trapped and under terrible conditions. Then they further their plan to stop the crew and decide Subaru needs to give a speech to boost morale. And I'll be honest, this speech was hyped up to hell by ReZero fans. Like, this was supposed to be their I want to live moment. And I mean, I thought it was good. Don't get me wrong. But if I was not aware that this was a big moment, I really wouldn't have thought much of it. Before you rage comment, I am not saying it's bad, but it's basically just Subaru admitting his faults and talking about how they need to get together and they will pull through and just go watch the speech if you care. Long story short, if there was ever a doubt, the good guys are gonna try and stop the bad guys. And because this was just a character-driven episode of Emilia and Subaru showing their growth as people in the context of the season, to me, I feel like I liked the last episode better. This was a 6.22222222. Isn't this crazy? A content creator giving a differing opinion than the norm? Holy shit, I know the comments are gonna be super respectful towards this.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
In the planning, the Go Auto just out of nowhere was like, yeah, that tone they're looking for, I got it on me. And this is the best trope in fiction, when you give a random character something extremely important that the enemy needs, and who better than the Go Auto? He is someone that needs his own series. Nah, screw a series. Auto needs his own franchise. If he sold a course, I would be interested in buying that. And off that and other information they had to decide who's gonna go after who and what the matchups are gonna be, and it's actually pretty cool how it all comes together. We also get one of my favorite non-fight scenes of the season, and something I liked more than the speech, and it's the scene with Crooch. And to be a serious YouTuber, again, I know, how terrible, but this feels a lot more like what Subaru's character means to me. We see Crooch on the bed and her face all deformed, but Farrah's crying over her, and we went over it earlier how much Crooch has been through, so seeing her in a situation of helplessness hits a little different, especially when you see how much it affects Farrah, who has been with her through literally everything. And through ReZero magic witch powers, Subaru immediately tries to transfer all of Crooch's pain to himself. Despite the screaming, despite the agony, and despite how it's affecting him, without second thought, he tries to absorb it all to save another. And I think this connects with me a lot more than an inspiring but self-deprecating speech, because once again, this is showing versus telling. This speech to me at times felt like the author was showing us really blatantly that this is who Subaru was versus how he is now through the journey of the speech. But at the end of the day, that's a speech. But this man right here looks like he's bugging off the fence, like he is going through it to help another. So when Crooch pulls him off, we're reminded of her virtueness, leading to Subaru saying at the end something along the lines of, "We will defeat the enemy." And that hits a lot deeper because it's more dense. We know what Subaru just tried to do for her, we know how she got in this situation, we know all of their history. Does that make sense, or did I just earn myself a ton of dislikes? From here though, we start getting it on, because Emilia and Diddy are in the church, and then Reinhard and Subaru bust in at the end. So once again, it was another exposition episode, and while these are definitely needed, you don't need some dickhead like me to weigh in on the politics. But overall, I'm gonna give this one a 7.359, because W. Crooch and Priscilla was in it too.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
Whoa. Some degenerate just became very happy. But all of our matchups start. Otto and Felt versus Gluttony, Anastasia and Al versus Lust, Subaru, Reinhardt and Emilia versus Diddy, William and Garfield versus Forearms and his wife, and then a 1v1 of Priscilla versus Cyrus. Now, while most of this episode had the villains hitting a light flex to remind you of their abilities, the first battle that really gets honed in on is Diddy versus the Three Stooges. And after basic villain monologuing and abuse, Reinhardt has had enough and decides to beat his ass, only for his ass to regenerate. Seemingly, Reinhardt is the strongest being in the world. But Diddy can't die, which creates an interesting dynamic. And Reinhard even fake dies or literally dies at some point in this, and there's some like ReZero chemistry that comes into play as to why he survived. Look, I'm an idiot. I don't really know how it works, but I think it's like he's blessed by something because he's a sword dude and he can't take damage. Somebody in the comments explain what happened with Reinhard. But the Three Stooges realize they're gonna have to figure out this ability, so Reinhard is gonna distract him while Subaru figures it out. And Reinhard starts communicating with him through telepathy. And I mean, what what can't this dude do? He's strong, he got telecommunication, he got the looks, he got the sword, he can't die. Like, he gotta have a small dick or something. And that episode ends with one of my favorite tropes in fiction. Whenever there's a big team battle, you get to the intro of it all, and seemingly all the good guys have the upper hand. And because it's a push and pull dynamic, there's always a moment where all the villains get their get back, and everyone starts losing their matchup, and it creates this feeling of helplessness and seriousness. And my god, this shit is cool every time. And the episode ends with Lust pulling up on Ferris, which is kind of crazy. It's like the most emotional, unstable femboy you can imagine versus a literal devil. This was peak setup for the next episode, and I believe this was also a return from an 8-week break of the anime. Honestly, really goated. 9.113. Prepare for epicness. Candlelit scene. Ferris lies next to Crouch in bed. Lust barges in, immediately starts mocking Ferris and transforms into Crouch, and immediately starts blaming Ferris for Crouch's condition, mocking him and everything he stands for, highlighting all of his faults. Lust slams into the wall, getting ready to go for the kill until boom! Blast from the bed. It turns out Crouch on the bed is really Anastasia in disguise, and she blasts Lust further, getting her own Shikamaru scene while Al is down there waiting to throw hands. God damn, holy moly, I've reviewed so many trash shows and rom-coms that I forgot what it's like to watch a AAA studio that gives a shit. Now, the rest of this episode is split between the Three Stooges and Priscilla, and let's just say the peak does not end. The Three Stooges are beating the hell out of Diddy, and it leads to this sick ice skating sequence where Diddy starts chasing Emilia and Subaru, and Emilia is throwing attacks, looking over his shoulder. It felt like a GTA shootout, and this was yet another unique fight scene using environment and cool abilities. And the section of it in this episode caps off with Regulus grabbing Reinhard and sending that boy literally to the moon, which is just so stupid but so funny, and yet another creative way of removing the strongest character in the series from the fight. But while the fight is cool, I personally think what's going on with the Cyrus fight is even cooler. The whole atmosphere of this one is different. I don't mean just aesthetically. When you think about the characters involved here, we have a crazy and cruel Cyrus, the no bullshit defiant Priscilla, and the pure and annoying singing girl, while these bystanders are seemingly hypnotized. When you think of Cyrus' abilities, it creates an even more interesting dynamic, because when the singing girl starts going crazy, Priscilla does this.
What the fuck?
Now, not too much happens here in terms of the fights, but the setups are well underway. It's now pulling back to the hero's favor, where it feels like they're at 50-50 points. And the next episode is about to be the ultimate showdown. So for this one, I'm gonna give it a 10, because Mamma Mia were some of those sequences cool, and this was the perfect build-up.
You know, when I said I wanted your meat for dinner, I wasn't expecting this.
I'm not gonna lie, this was one of the most unexpected episodes I think in all of anime history. It's a mix of the singing girl's backstory and the Priscilla fight, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised it didn't get cut. Now, the backstory is funny and sad, because her family basically leaves her behind to die while they go on with a new kid, and trust me, it was funny. I thought it was funny. I'm a dickhead though, so maybe it is just sad. And it is basically just all built up for a payoff when she sinks to the villains in the end to wear off Cyrus' ability. And I am really surprised it didn't get cut. In this day and age with Mushoku Tensei solo leveling, and to be honest, ReZero, there's this whole experience where you watch an anime episode and then you head on over to YouTube to watch Kaka or some streamer break down all the cut content that was in the episode. And sometimes it's like a lot. Like, a lot of content. Like, whole character moments being different. And anime has always had this problem with manga, but it's more glaring today because production times are longer and episode counts, for some reason, are strict. But a lot of series just choose to cut everything that is not needed to make sure the hype stuff gets animated. So I can appreciate that they fit this in, but couldn't we get, like, Crouch or Anastasia or even Priscilla some more stuff? Like, I'm sure they had stuff that were cut. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad, but it's just random that this is what got saved. But anyways, everything else in this episode was the Priscilla fight, and it was just peak. We get a back and forth where both characters are taunting each other. When it's a sword user against a chain user, you know it's about to go down. There are even character moments mixed in with Priscilla cracking at times until eventually locking in and beating her. And these two were the perfect dance partners for each other. Even just the depiction of the final blow, only showing her sword with its silhouette in a fight that had so much color. It was something that I think we almost wish we got more of. And oftentimes when the crazy gets paired with the bold, the real fight is to see which one is going to crack first. And when you think about Cyrus's introduction, someone that had an intricate plan with the boy to prove a point and take over the city, but at her core, she's a crazy hothead who can lose herself, whereas Priscilla can act brash and blunt and get emotional and not carry herself in a royal way, but at her core, she's never going to let her emotions get in the way of the task. It was just an interesting juxtaposition, and it was one of those times where the fight truly felt like a dance in every sense of the word. And sorry about being a serious YouTuber again, and like, I'm sorry I didn't like the backstory, but I'm just a dickhead, so let's be honest, that was a 9 out of 10 episode.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn!
The name of this episode is Sean Combs, so I think we all know what's about to go down. So through anime math, Subaru deducts that the reason Diddy can't take pain is because of the fact that his heart is spread throughout his wives. And in order to stop it all, they're gonna have to stop all of their hearts. And all of the wives were actually about to just end it all, and they like forgot they were in an anime where in order to die, you don't gotta die. Because instead of actually dying, we get this sick scene where Emilia stops all their pulses with her ice abilities, releasing the curse. And honestly, this didn't feel too much like a cop-out, because although I rushed through a lot of Emilia's stuff, there was more of a bond there with her and these wives than I let on to be in this video, and to have her be the one to save him, there was a payoff that felt really good. But like I said, it's anime, so of course it wasn't going to be that simple, because it turns out Emilia is also tagged, and she was ready to fully just end it. And that honestly would have been crazy. If Emilia did do that, I'm not gonna lie, this may have been the greatest series of all time. Like, no hate, but the ass beating Subaru would have gave Diddy, if that's how the fight went down and Emilia died, would have been nuts. But instead, it turns out through ReZero magic, Subaru has Geese's power and pulls the curse out of Emilia himself. Now on the cop-out scale, I've seen much worse. Like, Subaru getting this ability is all cool and the scene was sick and it makes sense, but just like, damn, it would have been crazy if Emilia actually died. And after this, they proceed to beat the living hell out of Diddy, and like, god, this was one of the most satisfying beatdowns we've seen in anime in so long. You know, yeah, Reinhard's back. He launched himself off the moon. Like, just pushed off. And honestly, this dude is literally like Saitama. And sometimes it feels like it doesn't fit the tone of the series. But the fact that he came back when Diddy was pretty much defeated, I got no problem with it. Because it feels like he's just a cherry on top of someone who was already defeated. And the way the final blow goes to Diddy is a bit confusing. Like, it seems like he's stuck in this everlasting loop until he dies. Or he may still be in this loop, reviving himself over and over. I'm not sure. But seeing him in this hole all beat up and burnt up and twisted up like a pretzel, it's pretty satisfying to see someone like him with his pride get this type of punishment. But this episode was probably most people's favorite episode of the season, and honestly, it was my favorite episode. So, absolute 10.4, because holy moly, just perfect way to deliver on years of setup.
What do you mean?
Do you guys know when you're watching a movie or anime and the big fight is done, but you still have important matchups left to go, and then for no reason at all, they make the smaller fight just go stupidly hard? Well, that's Garfiel versus this guy. Between the animation, storytelling, and pacing, this fight felt like the writer wanted to get into his shonen bag and bless us with peak. We're flashing to Elsa. Garfiel is properly getting his ass beat, and it doesn't wrap up there. Over and over and over, and Garfiel haters are having a field day. Subsequently, though, the Go Auto is throwing down with Gluttony, juxtaposing Al going toe-to-toe with Lust, and then Lust transforms into Priscilla, and Al the degenerate, just like all of us, gets pissed off at this disrespect and slices her up. We then jump back to Garfield, and he conveniently gets his ass beat so hard he flies into the tunnel with the two kids from earlier. I'm not gonna lie, he wasn't just getting smoked. Like, this was one of the most brutal beatdowns in anime, but the kids start cheering him on. Your shonen senses start tingling. He does the knuckle thing while bleeding from the mouth. Naruto fans know what's coming. And then boom, we get one of the best animated fights in the series. Garfield breaking bones, throwing himself at him, giving it his all. He's out there just trying shit, trying to land whatever he can, until he finally lands the blow to defeat him. And I'm not gonna lie, Garfield has gone from Inosuke to Rock Lee just like that. That is a character progression we love. Seeing him struggle this whole season with his trauma, being in a position where he needs to be helped, but every notion and thought about him can be thrown out the window because he is your friendly neighborhood tiger, and it was awesome. This episode, while it was spread between all the fights, it was just so peak. I gotta give it a 9.992. Like, man, does ReZero know what they're doing. Yo, this shit right here, this is peak. William has to face his dead wife, and when you give the stoic character an emotional challenge, it's just a chef's kiss, man. Because by all means, he should be able to win, but he just can't do it. And then when he gets her at sword point, we get their whole backstory. And this was like the guy sitting up in the chair meme. Like, yeah, we just had all those fun little shonen fights, but time to lock in, because sad backstory is inbound. Teresia became the sword saint because her brother, despite his training, was still ass at the craft. But when she went onto the battlefield, she was too scared to do anything. And her whole family died while she sat there doing nothing, and they tried to protect her, failing over and over. And then she finally meets her lover, who's better than her with the sword, and they live in harmony for years. And then she gets called into battle, a battle she can't run from, a battle with the whale. But then the evil lady from season 2 pops up and does something to her, and I'm a little confused because Teresia said Reinhard's name right before she dropped her sword. And comments, help me out here. Like, what does Reinhard have to do with her dying? How does this woman, is she God? Like, is she the devil? What is her? My cut content senses are tingling. But after we get that backstory, Reinhard proceeds to kill this ghost version of his grandmother while his dad is crashing out. This is what I mean. This dude is a bona fide bum. Like, he just be crashing out for no reason. He got no hands, and he got all emotional for his mom. Like, dude, you type the only one in the family who got nothing going for you. Like, get your ass on LinkedIn and go apply to some jobs, you bum. And, let me know if you find any jobs so I can apply too, because my views are down. Despite that, this was a peak episode and satisfying wrap up overall. So 8.921. I feel like the fight part of this could have gone a little harder, but still really good.
No one is that socially awkward.
An episode where Otto is the focus? We have waited years for this. Gluttony's ability is that he can eat anyone he touches and absorb their abilities, and if he learns your name, he learns everything about you. But Otto is immune. Now there's an explanation to why Otto is immune, but screw that explanation. My reasoning is because Otto got too much aura for him to handle. And while that is going down, Lust turns into a dragon. And now I'm really confused about the dragon from earlier that she was beefing with, and how come she just turned into a dragon now? But yeah, I don't know. She gets 9/11 only to survive while Reinhard beats her ass. And then at the very end, we cut back to Otto, and then the Mighty Beam pulls up to help him fight Gluttony. And honestly, Otto could handle it on his own, but this was a mid-progression of fights, and this episode was really cool. But this was a solid 8.84.
Before we get to the finale, I just gotta say, I really appreciate you guys all watching. If you could drop a like, it would be super appreciated. This video took so long to make. I know I need a haircut. I know at times it might have felt like a mess, but I tried my best to get this out in the best and shortest time possible. So please let me know what you think. And remember, the video is called Badly Explaining. So if some things were wrong, I'm sorry. What can I do? Look, I'm a mess. So are you surprised?
Who are you?
The final countdown. Alright, I'll stop. The Otto vs Gluttony fight is wrapping up. The three of them get him cornered, delivering a blow of the ages, only to realize that it's that Demon Slayer trope where two of them are one of them and the other one is way stronger. But then the new one just leaves, which is something that happens a lot in ReZero, where a villain just becomes disinterested. And we don't even check back in with the Lust fight or any of the other wrap-ups. It just jumps to the next day, which is fair because it's the last episode, I suppose. See what I did there with the Mighty Bean thing, I suppose? Oh, I'm so sorry. But we get two major revelations in the finale, with one being Cyrus is captured and obsessed with getting geese out of Subaru, and the second one being that the purple hair guy got forgotten by everyone, which is really strange that this is the first time this dynamic is being used in the series. Like, you would think a powerful ability like forgetting a character would be used at a really pivotal point, but maybe it's something reserved for unimportant characters. But overall, the finale was pretty tame and decent. I would give it a 7.5. But I feel like the series finally clicked for me, and I can say confidently it is right under Rent-a-Girlfriend status, because let's be honest, nothing is going to compete with Rent-a-Girlfriend, but I think you can confidently say ReZero has reached masterpiece status. If you want to see what else I think is worse than the GOAT Rent-a-Girlfriend, check out this video of me roasting 100 anime. Don't forget, we're just getting started, we're going to stay consistent, and I will see you in the next video.